And then there were but two. We are now hours away from the deciding of the NCAA men's basketball tournament. North Carolina and Villanova will battle tonight in Houston to discuss it all and what we saw this past Saturday night. I'm joined on the phone by Jon Rothstein, a college basketball insider for the CBS Sports Network. Jon, we really appreciate the time today. Before we get to the final game tonight, let's return to the history that we saw, however regrettably for Sooners fans, on Saturday. I want to take you back. Villanova 95, Oklahoma 51. How did that happen?
It was a combination of Villanova's defense. It was a combination of the dome-like setting, and it was a combination of, Oklahoma's three guards, Jordan Woodard, Isaiah Cousins, and Buddy Hield, playing collectively their three worst games of the season. The one thing that was really consistent coming into that game, when you look at the landscape of Oklahoma, was the Sooners were going to be good offensively. They were good offensively against ECU. They were great offensively against Texas A&M, and they were also very good offensively against Oregon. And then Oklahoma played its worst game at the most inopportune time of the season, but you have to obviously tip your cap to Villanova, who has been terrific defensively in the NCAA tournament.
The largest margin of victory in Final Four history, the second best shooting night ever, bested only by the Villanova Wildcats back in 1985 against Georgetown. You mentioned the shooting, especially in this cavernous football stadium, the Energy Center there in Houston. And North Carolina, as we move ahead to its game against Syracuse, comfortably ahead. They withstood something of a late run by Syracuse, but even against the Orange, we saw the Tar Heels struggle from distance, as did the Sooners.
No, it's one thing, though, that I think we're starting to see, Josh, is that North Carolina doesn't have to make outside shots to advance in the NCAA tournament. Now, the Tar Heels, when they're making outside shots, go to a completely different level, and we saw that really when they destroyed Indiana in the Sweet 16. But North Carolina had a double-figure lead at the half on Saturday night, and they didn't make a single three-point shot. And one thing that's really starting to resonate is North Carolina's best offense is a missed shot because of 16 offensive rebounds on Saturday against Syracuse, and that's something obviously that Villanova's going after the gate tonight if they want to have a chance to win.
So let's look ahead then, and you mentioned, especially there on the low block, North Carolina with Bryce Johnson and Kennedy Meeks, among others. They look to have a decided advantage down low. How might we see this play out then tonight?
Well, I think you have to look, too, conversely, is how is North Carolina going to guard Villanova? Roy Williams has always wanted to play a traditional style with two traditional big men, but that means that somebody, either Kennedy Meeks or Bryce Johnson, is going to have to guard Chris Jenkins. Chris Jenkins has been a revelation for Villanova over the last 2 months. He's elevated the Cats to a different level offensively, and in the NCAA tournament, he's 15 of 31 from three-point range. So he's in a situation right now where I think he's the X factor in tonight's game.
You mentioned Chris Jenkins, guys like Ryan Arcidiacono, and now Josh Hart, who stepped up so big against Oklahoma in the semifinal. These are not names we might hear called come NBA draft time, but they are playing as cohesively as any team.
Well, and I think the irony is when you look back at last year's national champion, the Duke Blue Devils, they were a team that was built around freshmen with Tyus Jones, Justice Winslow, and Jahlil Okafor. And now you're seeing teams in the national championship game led by seniors. It's kind of a throwback to the way college basketball used to be.
What do you know? Before I let you go then, we've been through the crucial matchups. I know some folks in the desert seem to believe that North Carolina may be the slightest of favorites. What do you think we see tonight?
Well, it makes total sense to predict North Carolina to win. The Tar Heels have won 7 of their last 8 games by double figures. Joe Barry, the point guard, has 23 assists to 2 turnovers in his last 3 games. But I think fate and destiny also play into this, and I think Villanova right now is playing at a level that's higher than we've seen them play throughout the entire season. I think it's Jay Wright's time to win the national championship.
I have to say, I do agree, Jon. Hard to pick against a team coming off a 44-point win. Jon Rothstein, again, we very much appreciate the time.
Thanks, Josh.
Tip-off again tonight, 9:19 Eastern. That from cavernous NRG Stadium in Houston. You can watch the game on TBS.